If anybody has been watching in Atlanta about the Atlanta public school scandal, which basically, if no one else in the country sees this, says, what's that about? A couple of years ago, they were found guilty of cheating on children's actual SAT tests. What they did is they altered the test scores so that the schools would look better, and they actually showed that the students got higher markings than they really did get. And over the time period after this happened, many of the teachers were arrested and charged with perjury, amongst other things, because they lied and said that they had done something that was not unethical. It wasn't wrong. And I haven't followed it all the way, but I know that I've heard enough about it in the past couple of years that the judge earlier last year or this year, he initially found 11 of the 12 people who were charged guilty, and he sentenced them without any question to jail. They would serve sentences in prison. Now, all of a sudden, he has decided to change his mind, and he's going to re-evaluate his decision. And why would he do that in the first place? Well, number one, because they are black. Because as black teachers in Atlanta, they should not be considered to be guilty of anything. That because they were teachers, they are teachers, that what they did was not really ethically wrong. It was just they thought they were doing something that was helping their students, and therefore we should feel pity for them and just kind of look at it the other way around and say, well, I don't think that they did anything wrong. I think that they should just be allowed to go free. John Hinckley, as just an example of this, he tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1980. And now that he's in his 60s or in his early 70s, they're going to let the guy go. They're saying that he has to be able to take care of his mother, who is in her 80s, and that now he is much more rehabilitated as a human being, and therefore we should let this guy go. Guess what? He still committed a federal crime against an individual who was the President of the United States. And this attitude of indifference to people who commit crimes is going all the way across the board, And now you're seeing it even in the cases of those who commit perjury, who commit murder. There's a woman I heard on the radio or television a couple of days ago. She said, they said the fact that she had murdered 7 or 8 children that she had, and she tried to dispose of them either in a trash can or something to that effect, and she was arrested. Now, in probably the next 6 months to a year, she will probably be released. And why? Because women are seen being completely innocent of murdering children because they had them. Now, when they're unborn, society already says it's her right. Now society is saying when they're born, there's no difference because it's still somebody that they had in their own bodies, and therefore that if they kill them, it's justified because it was still part of them. And if you think that's irrational or stupid, that's exactly how society looks at women in general. When they kill people, when they shoot them, when they murder them, whatever they do to them, it's okay. It's all right. It's no big deal because they've already been allowed to murder unborn children for 40 years. Yeah, folks, 42 years it's been going on. That's when they legalized abortion. And now today, the murder of human beings, if it's their mothers who are doing this, is still looked at in the same light as those who commit murder of unborn babies. And that is why our society is just now beyond degenerate, because when you cannot see a human being being valued, preserved, precious, or anything else, then you've lowered us to the level of an animal. And The United Nations has already said that we are considered an animal. We are not considered to be a higher complex organism. We're not considered to be rational, intelligent, or anything else. We're just simply, we're a part of the food chain. And that attitude goes through in everything that happens now, rather it be against that women are exempt from responsibility of things when they do things to their children. I mean, I know we're getting off the case about the Atlanta public school system, but it has to do with, if you look at the wider picture, it has to do with the philosophy change about women are not responsible for anything. They can do whatever they want to, and society says that's perfectly all right. That's perfectly fine with us. When the National Organization for Women was at its peak back in the early to mid 1990s, I wrote them a letter and I asked them this question, which they never answered. I said, if you guys can advocate for women's rights beyond even the right to kill people, I said, why don't you just lobby and legislate a law that allows women to kill and it not be considered a crime? And I think they've been doing that since. They've been pushing about the attitude that women are superior to men, they're superior to everything and anything, even the very life that they create. And then they say, if we want to kill that individual, that animal, we can do that, and it's perfectly legal. It's perfectly all right. They already allow us to kill an unborn baby. Now we should be allowed unlimited rights to kill. And that is disturbing in itself, because I see that in everything that I see being advertised on television, being promoted on the television, through the news and everything else, is that there has always been a double standard in the judicial system towards women anyway. Women that kill or rape young boys are always given just a slap on the hand, and that's all. If a man does it, he's put in jail for the rest of his life and he never gets out, and that's the end of that, because they say, oh, well, the man is the worst of anybody. But you cannot be equal. And this is just from a woman's perception. She wants to be equal with a man. Well, guess what? If you want to be equal to a man, you have to be responsible enough to take whatever a man takes. And that is, if anything else, your responsibility for what you do to other people. If you kill somebody, you should be held accountable. And even if that means that you have to be put to death, like a man would be put on death row and murdered or executed for what he's done to someone else, why is a woman any different? Because she's a woman? Mary Surratt, and this has to do with an event that took place in 1865. She was involved in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. To this day, you have women groups who idolize her. They go absolutely berserk whenever you hear them hear about the fact that a woman was actually executed or hanged for being an accessory to a murder of an American president. They go crazy. Why? It's not because either she was involved, which she was, or that indirectly she was involved and therefore as a woman she should be exempt from that responsibility. It's because that anybody would do such a thing of anybody to a woman. It isn't okay. It's okay for a man to be hung. It's okay for a man to be shot down or electrocuted in a chair or whatever else. But a woman as a gender is supposed to be seen in our society today as absolutely innocent of anything they do. And you know what? I mean, this attitude has progressively gotten more and more stronger in the attitude of society since the 1800s. And now you never even hear of women being executed or put to death for murders that they commit. There was a woman who had been on death row, I think either in Florida or it could have been here in Georgia. She'd been on death row for probably 30 years. And then all of a sudden, they decided to release her. They said, oh, well, she's been on death row too long, you know, and they didn't put her to death. They never executed her. They just simply continually stayed her execution, and then they finally just said, forget about it, just let her go. And they have. There is one case that comes to my mind. I've never heard the outcome of this case, but I'm going to tell it real quick. About probably 10 years ago, there was this preacher's wife. She had 2 children, and this happened somewhere in Alabama. And she found out that her preacher husband was having an affair. Guess what happened? One night, he comes out of the shower, and from behind in the back, she blows him away. She shoots him straight in the back, had no weapon on him or anything else, and she shot him dead. Then instead of calling the police saying, I just shot and killed my husband, she takes the 2 kids to his parents' house. She stays in the parents' home for a couple of days, and then she finally goes and turns herself into the police. When the case was brought up on the media, the attorney who was representing her said, we will no longer discuss this case until the trial comes up. And if it is even discussed, it will not be said in a fashion that will make this woman look bad, because we don't think she did anything wrong. Or at least that she's not responsible for her actions. I never know or knew whether or not she was in jail. Was she released? I assume probably she was released from jail, because in the minds of society, if a woman kills a man and it's because he cheated on her, it's a justified murder. It's a justified fact that she did it for that reason. That she did it because she was infuriated that he would actually have an affair with somebody else. And so therefore this woman who shot a man who was unarmed in the back, and that is an absolute worst thing you could do to anybody. They did it. She did it. And when she was charged with this murder, the media dropped the entire case. No one ever heard anything else about it. Nobody. I don't know her name, but I do know she was in Alabama somewhere when this happened. Another case, which is very, very publicized, and I'll say this before I end the video, Kaylee Anthony. She was the mother who killed her baby daughter and dumped her in a trash can, or at least that they found the body somewhere on the property. The father lied to the police and said, I have no idea how her body got out here. Kaylee Anthony was arrested for the murder, and within maybe 6 months, they dropped it, and she was allowed to get out of jail. She roams now. Who knows how many other children she's had since. But that is the one thing that the media said that she told them when she walked out of jail. She says, I'm going to get pregnant as quick as I possibly can and have another baby. In other words, I killed my daughter because I didn't want her, but that doesn't mean I can't kill her another daughter later, because that's how society sees children in general. We're all animals. I mean, I'm not saying every human being is like that, but I'm saying that is an attitude that's being projected towards women from the very, very youngest age when they're being raised, or, you know, it's like, you're superior to a boy. You don't have to worry about him. You know, whatever you want to do, that's perfectly all right. And that's coming through in our media outlets, in everything we advertise about women, everything we say about women is exactly the same thing. Women are superior. Therefore, whatever they want, it's okay. And I mean, I have wanted to say that for a long time on YouTube, on a video, somehow or another, to explain to people why it is in our society that there is this attitude of just absolute awe and admiration towards women because of the fact they are women. And you cannot look at them like that. You have to say, are they respectful? Are they deserving of respect? Are they murderers? Are they not murderers? When they kill or they commit murder against somebody, is that something that you say, well, I have to kind of exempt that from responsibility because they are women? No. It should be an accountable act when they murder somebody or kill somebody. And I just hope that this adoration people have towards women will change soon, because if it doesn't, there's very little chance our society will go on. thinking that way. Thank you.